Hi, my name is Pete Zilkowski, the lead pastor of Imago Dei Church on Milwaukee's west side. We launched Imago Dei in the fall of 2014. I've been asked to share a little bit about the Antioch School and how that has impacted the life and health of Imago Dei Church. So I was introduced to Antioch several years ago when I was on staff at another church in the Minneapolis suburbs. And I was tasked by my pastor at the time to put together a team that could develop a system where we could train people in-house from being brand new believers all the way through being maybe even potentially to serve full-time vocationally in the church. And as we were going through this process, asking what do people need to be grounded in the faith, established in the Christian faith, what tools and experiences do they need to be trained up as leaders in the church, again, maybe even to a vocational level. We were looking for materials, asking a lot of questions, and we kept on running into a bunch of brick walls. But in that process, we came across the Antioch School. And what Antioch offered in regards to this process just seemed like the answer that we were looking for. So myself and the team that I was working with, we went down to Ames, Iowa, where Antioch's headquarters is, and we were introduced to their entire system. And as we spent a few days with them talking through their process, what they do and why they do it, I just became increasingly convicted that what they were doing and what they were offering was the most biblically faithful way to establish people in the faith and train up leaders in and for the church. Now, this, for me, was kind of a bittersweet thing because on the one hand, it seemed like they answered a lot of the questions that we were asking. But on the other hand, this forced me to make a decision because at this time I was going to seminary full-time and I was about 2/3 of the way done with my MDiv at the time. And so I was looking at what Antioch offered and trying to consider what that meant for me, what that meant for our church. And as I wrestled with that with my pastor, elders, and people on the team, really just was thinking, well, it seems like if these guys are doing things in such a way that this is faithful to the scriptures, then I have to make a decision. So after some praying and consideration, I transferred out of the seminary that I was at, lost all of my credits, and started over with the Antioch School. And it was a beautiful thing. It is super helpful and healthy. It took me several years longer to complete my degree, but working on my degree in the context of the local church allowed me to do a lot of my education work that I was getting credit for as a part of my job. And so while I was a full-time student, not all of what I was doing, but a lot of what I was doing for Antioch was a part of that job. So I was able to be in school full-time and working full-time and have a lot of that overlap. So that reduced a lot of the burden that would have been on my growing family. And then as I went through the Antioch material, was just introduced to how God's intention to bring beauty and peace into this world that He created was through planting and strengthening local churches. And working through the different assessments and mentoring materials that Antioch provides, it just became increasingly clear to myself, my lead pastor at the time, and the elders that I was serving under, that God had designed me as a church planter. So then, in conjunction with some of Antioch's ministry practicum tools, and in a lot of conversation with the elders at my local church, we developed a process and did come to the conclusion that God was calling me to plant a church. And so we moved from the Minneapolis suburbs down into the heart of Milwaukee, and we got to work planting Imago Dei. And I can't fathom doing what we've done without having the benefits of the Antioch training system. I mean, the traditional seminaries have a lot to offer and a lot of good and healthy educational material to give. But there's a lot that they just aren't equipped to do. Just a couple of things come to mind that I think pastors absolutely need. And one is just simply answering that question of how do you take a new believer, ground them in the faith, and equip them to lead, even potentially vocationally. Well, within the context of the Antioch School, that's one of the projects that you have to do. It's one of the courses that you take, and then you learn how to use the Bible to ground people in the faith and equip them to lead. Other issues that come to mind from what's the role of deacons and elders, how is the church supposed to be engaged in issues of mercy and good works in their context, counseling, how does that fit into the whole thing? And so really what the Antioch School does is it allows you to take the particular classes that you're working on and put them into this broader context of what a full life in ministry looks like. Maybe the biggest thing, though, that the Antioch offers that, again, traditional seminaries can do a lot of healthy and helpful things, but this is one that they're just not equipped to handle, and that is keeping a close eye on people's character. There's very few churches that close their doors because pastors' skills, their theological acumen isn't at a 10 for sharpness. But a lot of churches hurt a lot of people because the leader's character is not qualified. And traditional seminaries just aren't able to do that. But when you take your higher education seriously and in your postgraduate work into the context of the local church, you're being mentored by people who know you, who have babysat your kids. Man, it just takes that to a whole nother level that I think can really make the whole process, the process healthy, but will continue to make more and better, and by better I mean healthier churches going forward.